And this morning, we're going to spend the morning in Elk with Mellisa Boon and Victor Passalacqua from the Elk Cove Inn. That's coming up next, right here on KGUA Live. And good morning. Welcome to the Drift. This is your host, Sevi Cardosi. And joining me today on Zoom in the studio is Mellisa Boon and Victor Passalacqua of the Elk Cove Inn. Hey, guys. So good to meet you finally. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to meet you as well.
Oh, I don't think we can hear you. Oh, I didn't turn. There we go. Let's try again. Are you there?
We're here.
Oh, yeah. I'm so used to having people in the studio. It's very strange to be on Zoom again. It's been like a year, literally a year.
How are you doing today?
It's great. We got the rains just came, so it's, that chill in the air. I had to wear my sweater and my scarf, so busted out all the winter clothes. You know how that goes.
I had the same thing this morning. I'm like, I think this is the first time I'm dressing up for the fall.
Right? It's kind of exciting.
It
But we're
is.
loving that weather. The last couple weeks, it was so warm. A little hot on the ridge, but by the ocean, it was spectacular.
It's like a warm summer day
Yeah,
that we don't usually get here.
you guys are right up there in Elk on the water. That must have been amazing.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, for those of our listeners, we're talking to Mellisa Boom and Victor Passalacqua. Melissa's the manager at the Elk Cove Inn, and Victor is the chef at the restaurant there. And you've been on air before, but for those that didn't catch that particular show, introduce yourselves and let us know a little bit about your background and all the goodness you bring to the North Coast.
It's a little bit of a long story, but we're both from multiple places. Victor was born in Peru from Sicilian mother, Sicilian father, Spanish mother, born in Peru, growing up in Montreal, and lived in Miami for a long time. I am French from a French mother, Dutch father, grew up in the Dominican Republic, and lived in the United States for also about 20 years. And we just happened to roll up on the coast, on the West Coast, with an RV back in 2020. In the middle of COVID, and we've been here since and decided we did not want to be anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, she decided.
You
She
decided. Oh.
Me, I was retired. I decided that that was it, done enough. Traveled the world a few times, had incredible opportunities working from the Queen of England, from all over the world. And I decided that that was it. I didn't want to continue with that. My last position was as a chair at in Florida for the culinary school,
Yeah.
Miami Culinary Institute. And after teaching there and being on that side for a few years and running another company and doing other things, just decided that that was enough. We decided to stop, got rid of a lot of different properties, businesses that we had, left to the Dominican Republic to a sister hotel there belonging to her father, and stayed there for a while. And while we were there, this COVID thing appeared.
Right.
So at that point, we were fast to return to the US, thinking that we were going to be okay in the US, much more safer than in the Dominican Republic. But when we came in, everything was closing down. And we decided just to go, not thinking that everything was going to be closing down. So we ended up somewhere in Texas, I believe. No, in Colorado, in an RV, beautiful place. In a 3 month period, we saw 6 people, and everything was closed. So Mellisa fell in love with this place, and we came over. At the time, we were going to be, well, she was going to be an innkeeper. Mia was just going to relax. And when we arrive here, Melissa wakes up which is rare, 5 o'clock in the morning, and she looks at me and she said, I want it. That's what she said. At the beginning, we were here just for 6 to 8 months, and no restaurant, no nothing to do with culinary, food and beverage, nothing.
Yeah, you were
Just a little.
retired. You were done.
Yeah, yeah. And then things happen. Things happen, and everything started with a little nun that was, we were close. This little lady, quite old, arrived in an old Vita Volvo, asking if she could spend the night in the parking lot because she had been driving from Oregon. And we said, of course, if you want, we have rooms. We can rent them, but you can sleep in one of the rooms. And she was very, very, very thankful. And then we see her, we were outside and we see her bringing in some, those dry sausages that you buy in the gas stations. And that was her dinner.
Slim Jim.
Slim Jeans, that's it. So she goes, this is my dinner, and this is what I've been eating for the last few days because everything is closed. And she was going somewhere in LA, I believe, or San Francisco. She was going to a hospital where she had to be there. Then she explained to us that is this group of, I don't know, nuns or doctors, nurses, I don't know where they were, but that they were helping. So we offered her to eat with us. And within a week, we start getting people from the same first responders, looking for a place to stay. And we needed to have food, although we were not charging, but we needed to have food because you come here from wherever and you're driving for another 15 hours and there's actually no food. So we start serving food, simple food. And that's how we started. That's how we started. And little by little, I started having fun. I
Good.
started having fun, and Melissa started having fun as well. It's a different kind of interaction with the guests. And the fun came real big at the time that we had no suppliers. There was nobody bringing anything here. So we started walking and finding out things and talking to the neighbors and getting mushrooms, getting salads, getting this, getting that, and basically starting creating food with what we could get.
Right.
And that became interesting. I never knew in my professional life that Mendocinos had the bounty of product that it has.
Yeah.
The sea urchin, the Dungeness crab, the mushrooms, all these different things that in the commercial world,
Our
but
delicacy.
yeah, but they don't exist from here. The first time I saw a bolid, a porcini, I'm looking at this and I'm looking at things like this and I'm going like, no, no.
And here, right in our backyard.
Right in the backyard, I'm going like, no. Then you go downstairs, you see the sea urchin, you see the all this amazing bounty of things. So little by little, we decided to stay in the area. At the beginning, it wasn't here. It was another place that we've been offered to reopen
Mhm.
and to run smaller, beautiful, pretty much very close to here. And after 6 months, we spoke with at the time's owner, the sole owner,
Mhm.
Rakesh Pinilla, and letting know that we were taking over another property and that we were leaving. And at that point, it's like the devil, the offer that you can't refuse. So at that point, we decided to invest in this property, and we became owners of this property, partners with Rakesh.
Mhm.
And the success have been beyond any expectations that he ever had. We didn't have expectations because we had not been here for 20 years. But it's not a business, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's our house.
It's our home, yeah, and we just
It's our
bring
house.
people in.
Unlike any other property in the area, 100% of our staff is from Elk, from Point Arena, from Manchester. They're all from here. We don't import anybody
Right.
or anything. We try to keep it local, 100%, and is working a extreme amazing way for us because all these locals know the place. They're the one that teach us. They're the one that teach us where to do this, how to do that, who to go to see this. In the middle of nowhere, this guy is making quails, so he gives me two quails. We start doing our own quails. Then we start trading stuff. It's
Right.
amazing. It's amazing. So that's how we decided to stay. That's how we came.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's what makes it so instead of going to dinner, it makes it an experience for others that are coming to see you. Because I know when I go out fine dining, sometimes, you have those people that are like this, and other times you have those that it's like you're going into their home. That's how I
Yeah,
was in
but
restaurant and
let
just
me
every
interrupt you
my
for
guest, right?
a
And
little second. We
yeah,
do not do fine dining.
yeah,
We do not do or aspire to ever do any kind of rewards, stars, or anything. Been there, done that.
We just have a really good chef, really
We,
good food, and a
we have
beautiful.
good food that is local. There's only one person in the kitchen,
mhm.
me. So the decorations on the we don't do that. I'm by myself, and that's the way I like it.
Mhm.
That's the way I like it because it's more fun.
But like you said, though, it's an experience. People walk in, and of course, I mean, we have the amazing view from the dining room. So you have very small dining room with about 10 tables, where everybody gets a view. People get to mingle. We do a little social hour on weekends, right before the dinner time. So people get to mingle and talk to each other. So that when they come in the dining room, they may know some of the other couples. So sometimes you'll have conversation that start in between tables, and we had I had a family member that came here for a little bit to give a hand, and she says, "Well, in France, the server never talks to the table," and I'm like, "Well, here it's different because you're not really the server. You're just you're facilitating their meal and just giving them the experience.
And here we sit at the table, so
They'll have questions about what to do and where to go and about the property and about you because they're going to hear that you have an accent and they're going to ask you about, they're really, I mean, people really just It's amazing, and it really is amazing because of the guests that we have as well. I mean, for the most part, they're just really taking in the whole experience from the moment they, drive through the driveway, arriving, and kind of understanding the vibe and what we do, and it's really
And we
rewarding.
don't do sittings. Once you get here, you get a table, that's it. The table is yours for as long as you want. There's no second sitting. There's never, ever, ever, ever. It's an extension of the business. The food is really not the business. And anyone that comes here, they look at the quality and they go like, hold on, this you're selling for $30, and I know for a fact that a pound of this is $70, and this is half a pound. How do you do that? It's fine.
Well, you're retired now, so
I'm
you
retired.
don't make money. It doesn't matter.
No, I mean, what I don't want is to lose money,
Right.
but it's okay. It's okay. We
Yeah.
cannot pretend that everybody has $300 per person to spend to have a good meal. And there's some people that just want to eat well, and when you finish your meal, you don't have to go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
So that's a good part too. So it's just different perceptions. It's just different perceptions. And again, we're not here to see what we can do in the next 4 years and then go and look somewhere else. We bought this place.
Yeah.
We're dying here. Well, I am. I don't think she will.
But the previous owners have been here for 30 years and 28 years. So I tell Victor, we still have another at least 24 years to go.
You guys
So,
are, yeah, that's wonderful. And you know what's exciting talking to you and hearing how you're running the place? It reminds me a lot of when I lived in Italy, when you showed up, what they had is what your options were, and it changed all the time. So it wasn't like a lot of the restaurants here stick to their steady menus and that's it for the whole year, some of them. You actually go with the seasons and with what's fresh and with what the community has.
it's been an interesting introduction to the restaurant system because a lot of people, like you said, here in the United States, I mean, we're trained, restaurant are a certain way. And not only do we do what you just explained, but we also have a little bit of a different system with the pre-ordering. Because we don't cook anything that we're not selling. So we have a pre-ordering system where you make a reservation and you put in your order by noon. We do upload the menu to the website, so there's an access to that. And then, so we get the order, and by noon is when Victor starts cooking everything that is going to be served that day. So it assures freshness. It assures that we're getting the best product possible, and that we have everything available. And sometimes even on the menu, the description says, "Hey, sorry, but we could not get this or that." But it also allows us to have a much bigger menu than what we started with. And same thing. If you go online, just check it out. It's you have a multitude of dishes. We've had guests stay here for 4 or 5 nights, and they're like, "Well, we need to stay longer to be able to try, the rest of the rest of it because it's fun."
And the thing is that we use the same ingredients
For a lot of the
for
dishes.
especially when it comes to the protein. Uh, we try to go local.
See.
So the beef that I'm gonna get from Covalo, the lamb we're gonna get from the valley. So we're gonna get the same ingredients because I really don't wanna get my beef from Japan because it's Kobe. I wanna get the best beef that I can get here from a guy that I know, that I think it's fun to see him raise his cattle, and then he only has maybe 100. So is what it is. When I don't have any more, guess what? There's no more. And it's not that there's no more for 2 days. I have no more maybe for 5 weeks or 6 weeks. But the menu is large enough for people to have many other things.
Right.
But I have nothing, a lot of nothing.
A lot of
A lot of nothing.
limited. Now, you have your guests that you serve. Do you take outside guests as well for dining?
Absolutely. And it's been an interesting path because we never really did any advertisement for the restaurant. As Victor said, it was never really a business. It was just more of a commodity for our guests so that they didn't have to travel so far to go and eat. At the time, we didn't have we didn't have the restaurants that we have now in Elk. So it was more of again, just something,
Necessity.
yeah, a necessity. But we've been, getting more and more locals. Sometimes, celebrating anniversary. We're a great anniversary place, or celebrating a birthday
Yeah,
or
we
some
have regulars
groups.
that come from Point Arena once a month, not one or two, many from Point Arena, from Fort Bragg.
But all the way to Irish Beach. And, again, some people is their second home, some people is their first home. We have some people that are renting places, in the area. But so little by little, it's been a word of mouth thing. And I always ask, I say, so how did you guys hear? And it's like, well, sometimes, it's just going online, and it's sometimes like, oh, somebody, our neighbor told us that, this was the place to go. And we're again celebrating an anniversary or something. So we were really looking forward to coming here. And again, everybody is a little bit thrown off by the whole pre-ordering thing. And like, well, it's exciting because you're kind of like getting ready and like, mentally prepared. But again, kind of part of the experience because, it's like everything else. The more time you put into it, the more I think you get to like enjoy the results. So it's like this apprehension of looking at the menu, kind of start thinking about what you're going to be eating and then sitting down and then not have to worry about anything. Just really sit down, enjoy the view, enjoy a glass of wine, and we start bringing out some food for you.
That's very cool. And so how far in advance do people have to call to make their reservations?
Just by noon the day of. So that is the cutoff to make the reservation and the dinner order. Just keep in mind that we have a small dining room. So it may, sometimes it may get full. And like Victor said, we're not trying to squeeze in another person. It's not,
Even if people get angry.
It's just what we have and what we serve is what we know we can handle. And again, we're not trying to push anybody
No stress.
out. So
There cannot be no stress.
so that is the only thing. Whenever there's, busy season or anything like that, I do suggest making the reservation in advance. But if not, cutoff time is noon the day of with a dinner order.
And understand that it's not a business. A lot of people go like, well, that's a dumb that's a dumb way of doing business. I understand it would be a dumb way of doing business, but it's not a business. So it's okay.
But that's what makes it, different and yeah.
And it just goes to show when it's good and quality, they'll come. It's your rule.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's your game. So they either play or don't play.
That's it. Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
but the thing is that around the area we have so many good restaurants. I mean, one of my favorite restaurants, just my neighbor, is the Ledford House.
Oh yeah.
I think they do a terrific job, of doing simple food,
Yep.
simple, good, fresh food.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was-
It's our to-go place.
yeah. It's a good spot. That was the only place it reminded me of my family in Italy because they had the rabbit and there's not another. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And she does a good job with the rabbit.
Good.
Again, Mellisa loves the rabbit, and we make rabbit too.
Oh good.
My rabbit is a little bit more frou-frou, if you want. I like to debone it. I like to make a stock. Then I like to make a sauce with the stock. It's a little different than just the old-fashioned way that you braise it with wine and vegetable. It's great. How difficult it is. It's not. But that's the thing about cooking. Trying to get food, not touch it too much, and
Right.
serve it. I understand people that appreciate a plate that is, work on a lot, but I like food. I just like good food, and to have the experience of going somewhere to have fun, to enjoy, to relax.
Yeah. And like in the coast too. You have the ambiance, you have some of the best product. And if you start with that perfect ingredient, you don't have to do much. It's just
Exactly.
love and your energy
Exactly.
into it, and people appreciate it.
And again, we're lucky to have a team. We have people like Gina Henderman, Franklin Marshall, Levi, all these guys that are from here, 3, 4 generations. And they help us with everything,
That's
with
awesome.
everything. They're family.
Mhm.
They work as well, but they're more doing what needs to be done.
Right.
It's not their job. And proof of that we had the day that we had the winds and the big storm a couple of years ago. We
Yeah.
have all these guys coming from Point Arena, from Manchester, right at the end of the storm, showing up. Is everything okay? With their chainsaws, with everything. We didn't call anybody. They just came to make sure that their home was okay,
Right.
that everything was okay. And I honestly believe that that is
Well,
the key of our success.
we
The
couldn't
team.
do it without our team. We have a very small team, from 6 to 10 people, depending on, the season and what's happening. But yeah, it's just we work with an amazing crew, and everybody has each other's back, and it's fun. It's like a big family. Not always happy because we do have our problems, but
We are, as I
Well,
say all
so
the
does
time, we are a beautiful, dysfunctional family. We're very, very dysfunctional, but we still are a family.
yeah. I think that's normal for small, tight-knit restaurants. And the fact that you have such a wonderful community that comes together. And I think that's how it's supposed to be, And I'm so grateful that you guys got to go back to that from being in this huge, culinary world to now getting back to the roots of it all and finding that joy. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's always interesting when, again, people sit down and they're like, so what's your story? And I'm like, well, we came here from Miami, Florida, and everybody just their face, they're like, oh wow, what a difference. I mean, I'm like, yeah, and frankly, I wouldn't go back for anything, but yeah, quite difference.
Difference. Huge difference. And then we have a winemaker's dinner. So there is an opportunity coming up this weekend for people to join you and to have a tasting style menu, correct?
That is correct. So that is happening on Saturday, October 19th. And we've done a few of these in the past. It's interesting because we've gone to winemakers dinner in other places, and we have done that for a while, not just on the winemakers dinner, but we've done both, where we've done some really intense wine classes where you're, talking about the wine, seminars, and just like really trying to, I'm sorry for the word, but really trying to dumb down. And again, it's not a right word, but it's just to make it understandable
Make it
for
accessible.
everybody, make it accessible, so that everybody understands. Because, I mean, I have a sommelier degree, but when I start talking about leather flavor, a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I get it. Frankly, I mean, who goes around and starts licking leather and trying to, what is it that it tastes like? So
Yeah, like wet hair. Who's gonna go like?
Yeah, I know.
Nobody.
I laugh about that when I would take classes. They're like, can you smell the gooseberry? I'm like, how do you know what a gooseberry smells like?
Exactly. And again, a lot of when you talk berries and some of the more, again, fruit that are more readily available, then people are like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that. But then, you go into really funky description notes. And again, it's always interesting to see people. But so we've done this in the past with actual college students. And then we've done some, he's done a demonstration with cooking and just again for college students. So we kind of have that educational background that makes it really easy to be involved and to, again, just kind of be able to talk one-on-one with people in that way, without having to, have a whole lot of background or experience or, in wine.
No pretentiousness.
And
None.
this is about, so I think the way that we've started, or the way that it developed, it was kind of a small, intimate group of about 16 people for the first couple of winemakers dinner that we had. And it's really about kind of taking you by the hand and guiding you through our dinner's experience. And as I always tell people, we just, and on a day-to-day, we're eating to feed our body. But how often do you take the time to actually go on a senses journey, where again, it's not just about the flavor, but it's about the environment that you're in. It's about the smell. It's about the color. It's about what you're seeing in your plate. It's about the company. So it really is. It's an experience. And then just kind of taking you by the hand and saying, hey, close your eyes for a second, smell. What do you smell here? And, how is this affecting your again, your palate? Do you feel a little bit like more acidity where, is making you salivate, or is it something with more tannins where it's keeping your, mouth dry? And then how is it going with this ceviche, for example, that he's making now, and again, a really high acidity dish. So, and it really, I mean, once you start describing and taking, again, people by the hand and just walking them through that experience, is just like, oh, wow. And it's always amazing at the end of the dinner. You feel like you've awakened something. And it's just like, sometimes it's just a spark of curiosity. Sometimes it's just this whole, thing that is just, oh, well, maybe next time I have, a special dinner, I'll know how to kind of go about it and just really put my whole self into it, and it's just.
She's really good at it. I'm the one that does the pairing of the wines, but I need to do it by myself. I taste, she's sitting there taking notes. I say usually one or two words, and she comes out with everything else.
So it's it's a true pairing. We're not. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
It is a decomposition. It's a pairing by decomposition, meaning when I'm gonna try a wine, it's not only the wine, it's the temperature. It's very important. You can do some red wines at lower temperatures that can go wonderful with some fish.
Right.
Depending on the fish, of course. So we've been together for so long, and she's been
trained.
trained.
Do you have this similar palate? Because with wine, sometimes, people have a different palate where they're drawn more to one than another. Do you guys have a similar palate, or does that work?
I mean, we have we understand the basics in the same way, and then we have our own preferences. But it doesn't mean that, if for example, sometimes he has a special dish that is not on the menu, and I'll have people ask me for recommendation. I'm like, well, I actually haven't tasted the sauce, so let me go and talk to the chef and see. And so I'll taste the sauce. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I would pair it with. And he's like, no, I would do this. And so I frankly tell the guests, I say, well, here's the deal. This is what I would do, and this is what the chef would do. They usually go with the chef recommendation, which, I completely understand. But it's just, it's that. It's just kind of understand, not everybody has to like the same thing. So, sometimes you feel something really goes well together. But again, the basis of the pairing are very much anchored in, I mean, it's not like all powerful knowledge, but it's like, okay, yes, you have high acidity wine, you have, really fatty dishes or pieces of meat or sauces, and, things like that you kind of have to really go with. But like he said, he usually we're working directly with the winery. So it's like, okay, they'll come over and we're like, what do you guys want to, push more? Or is there something
What do you want?
special?
What do you have?
Yeah, is there something special that you want to promote that night, or, something like that? We'll open the wine. At this point, everybody needs to leave because Victor has to concentrate.
I can't
and
talk.
he can't be doing two things at once. So I'll just sit down with him. He'll taste the wine and he's like, bam, this is going to go with that, and this I'm gonna me doing with this, and oh, and he'll start telling me like about the, you know, the sauces, and again, like certain like, you know, crispiness about certain thing, or this needs to be, you know, this wine needs to be like at a little bit chilled, or, you know, it's just so, you know, very specific things that make I think make a difference,
But
because
they do, you know, when you take a wine and let's say olives, okay? Olives, they pair well with not too many wines. You know, a lot of people will say only Pinot Noir. That is not true. You know, you can make a little rosé there, making according to the temperature. You're gonna do that. You will not serve it cold. You know, you wanna get it to maybe 59, not warm, but you know, not cold. Why? Because the l'amertume, ¿cómo se dice? The bitterness
Right.
of the olives, you know, are going to come out at room temperature. If you put it with something that is too cold, it will actually hide that effect.
Right.
And I'm a firm believer, if I had a carrot, I want it to taste like a carrot.
Right.
I don't want the carrot to work 3 hours in the carrot and say, well, the carrot not tastes like filet mignon. You know, if I want to taste filet mignon, I give you a place of filet mignon. I want to taste the carrot, and the carrot doesn't speak. You know, the carrot is telling me, no, the carrot doesn't speak. You know, if the guy that made the carrot, the farmer that did this, he knows what he did, and that's what it tastes like this. And we just have to enhance it and present it, not to change it.
And I think this is such a great opportunity for our listeners. Anybody who's listening, if you have never been to a real wine tasting, or, you know, you're not a huge fan of wine, this opportunity, when you actually get a wine and you taste it with food that's made to balance it out, or made especially for that wine, it changes your whole perception. You know, there's certain things, you know, unless you're studying like you have or like I have, you don't know these things. You know, you don't know, okay, well, you can get a buttery wine that goes with a buttery dish, or you can get an acidic wine that goes with a buttery dish. You know, this is such a good opportunity to get an understanding of how wine actually tastes better sometimes with food, because it brings out the different compositions of each.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, always just kind of an eye-opening thing, you know, just like I said, seeing people just like, oh wow, I would have never, you know, never never thought. So that's always fun.
It's
Yeah.
super fun to look at people's reaction.
Yes.
You know, when one time I put caviar with white chocolate,
Wow.
and everybody was looking at me crazy, crazy. But at the end, 26 people, honestly, were standing up and applauding. I said, how did you come out with that? And I said, a computer.
A computer.
Yeah, a computer system, you know, at the university in Miami, you know, I was trying some stuff, and just by taste, flavors,
Yes.
temperature, and
Ma-
it came out that those two were going perfect together. And I started trying, and it did. The only thing is that you had just to have a little bit,
right.
and
Yeah.
it was really an explosion.
That's
But it
cool.
had to be at the right temperature. You know that caviar cannot get water or wet.
Right.
Chocolate, in order to melt, white chocolate is a lot lower than dark chocolate, because dark chocolate is cocoa, white chocolate is butter.
Mhm.
So it was a super interesting thing to do. You know how taste is taste,
Yeah.
and your brain will like what it will like. But if you close your eyes and you try something, it is what it is. When you use miracle fruit, same thing. You can eat a tablespoon full of vinegar and mustard, and it tastes like vinegar and mustard, but sweet.
Right.
Yep.
I remember years ago, remember when we had fires up here probably about a decade ago. And so all the grapes up the hill got all smoky. So
Yeah.
that year, that particular bottle of wine was super smoky. And I worked at the lodge at the time, and they're like, we can't sell this wine. We just I said, don't get rid of it. I said, put it on special, buy the glass. I said, you got barbecue tonight. Let me sell it. And the smoky from the barbecue sauce and the meat with the smoke from the wine matched perfectly. And so we sold out of it. Like, in a way, they're like, how we've had that wine for like 5 years. Nobody bought a glass. Like, you gotta pair. It's a whole different experience with food.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fun. Yeah.
And somebody has to kind of
Somebody has to lead you.
yeah, somebody has to tell you, because again, if you tell them, oh, well, this is kind of a, smoky wine from the fires and we were trying to, get rid of it. So maybe we'll pushing it by the glass now. It's not a great story. People don't really, but if you believe, if you believe in what your product is and say, hey, I mean, look at this. And yes, it's a little bit different because of the fires, because of everything, but you are having barbecue and look at the, how everything is just kind of pairing together. And it's just like,
And
oh,
it's limited. So this is your only opportunity for this experience,
yeah,
because well, like all wine,
yeah.
every vintage changes a little. So yeah. Well, let's get. Can we go over the menu and what wine?
Yes, absolutely. Do you have a copy of it, or you want me to kind of
No,
go through
I'll
it?
let you guys go for it. I'm excited to hear about it.
Let me just open it real quick. And this is a little bit different, the fact that we again have done this, and it's it takes, like everything, it takes a little bit to kind of get the ball rolling, and not just on our side getting it done where it takes a little bit of time, but to actually get people interested, because not everybody, I mean, it's $125 per person, but it is a 7-course dinner with all the wines included. So if you think about it, we go out,
It's not a business.
whenever we go out, we don't, I mean, we splurge. I mean, not, we don't go crazy, but whenever we go out, we'll spend the money. And we were talking about that, and it's like, again, $125 for 7 courses with the wine. It's actually not bad. And again, we promise you're not gonna leave and be hungry after.
Experience.
But so
Mhm.
we've done this, and first, the main thing was to kind of create a relationship with the wineries that we were doing this with. We didn't just want the sales rep to come, and no offense to the sales rep, but because again, this is about you showing your human side, and the passion that you have, into this wine that you've made, and or the winery that you own.
We're showing the feeling that we have when we do that. We want on the other side somebody with the wines that will show us the same thing, so the guest can get that. It's
Right.
not, again, look at the price. If I give you just the invoices for the products that I have to bring, okay, because nothing, I try to get the things right, so everything is real. There's no powders, there's nothing, the olives in botija coming from Peru, they're coming from Peru, and why are they from Peru? You're gonna taste, you're gonna see the difference.
Yeah.
They're totally different. So it's not about money, it's not a business. $125 for
Creation and passion.
wine and food and service and everything is not expensive. It's barely covering what we do, but we're putting that on our end.
Because we have fun doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we want the same thing from the winemaker.
Right.
If it's just to show Dom Perignon, why? You're gonna send me the guy from Southern Wine to tell me this is Dom Perignon. No, I want my guests to know, like, they know how I feel when I do something.
Mhm.
What did you do? How did you do it?
Right.
It's telling a story. It's telling a story that started 50, 60 years before, when the vines were planted. The evolution. And even we've made one in France, in Spain, in Chile, ourselves. And it depends how you feel that day.
Right.
What's your emotional state? What's going on? Everything. And that's what makes things interesting.
And then they're dealing with the weather too, and using their creativity,
Absolutely.
their ingenuity.
Everything.
Absolutely. So it was about creating again that same, getting that same passion from the person that would represent the winery here. And again, we've developed a really interesting wine list where we're working with a lot of just smaller local wineries. So we have gotten to know owners, winemakers, and everybody else on the team. So it's not hard to find, but it's hard to find again, the people that are able to explain with a passion. And so talking about the winery, I just want to mention this specific winemakers dinner we are doing with Seabass Winery. So is Scott and Michelle Willoughby that have become friends. We've known them off and on for the past couple of years, never really with a friendship, but just more kind of passing through, saying hi, how are things going? And little by little, I mean, again, it always goes down to just human relationship. And so whenever I'm out there on the dining room floor, that's what I tell the guests. I say, I'm not selling you just a product. I'm selling you a relationship, because this is, so and so, and I know them, and I know their, kids, or just I know the whole story behind it, and it's made very interesting. So, say
And
that,
are
yeah.
they
Yeah,
out
they
of
have that passion.
what town are they out of?
So the winery is in Ukiah, and they've been there in Mendocino County since 1988.
Wow.
They had a tasting room, a beautiful tasting room in Boonville for over 10 years that they just shut down last year, I believe. It was just getting a little bit harder to get, guests to come over to,
And employees and
yeah, so just to get people to come over and stop. And so they decided to just actually go to where the people are. And so that's kind of it started with Scott as well. He's now coming here and doing tastings with us on the weekend. So we have the crowd. And so he's like, well, do you mind? And I'm like, absolutely not. I mean, we have the crowd. Why don't you come here and expose your product to, everybody here and see what happens? So that's kind of how it worked out. And they have small lot estate wines. So they have a Old Vine Zinfandel, they have a Syrah, they have Chardonnay, Merlot. And what we love about their wine is that you actually get to try some older vintages.
and see the progression or regression.
Right, and each, of course, like you said earlier, each vintage is different. But I mean, we're talking about a 2012 Old Vine Zinfandel, which you don't find a lot of old vintages with all those small wineries that are around here. You don't find a lot of older vintages because they have such small production that they never really sat on it, or it was just everything just kind of.
Yeah, but again, the way a lot of Zinfandels here in this area are not made to be kept for a long time.
Well, that is the other thing. Their winemaker is French, and I always explain to the guests, when you're tasting the Zin that we offer from them, or when you're tasting the Chardonnay, it's very much old world style. So you are tasting a Burgundy Chardonnay. I mean, it's just the flavors and the way that it's
very
made.
deep.
We have a very special vintage that is going to be promoted at this dinner, and I'm not going to say the vintage just because it's kind of a surprise. And they have a very small quantity of it left. But when I tasted it, I said, "Oh wow!" I mean, this just took me back, like I said, to a trip that we had in Burgundy. The same thing with the Zinfandel. I mean, when you try their Zin, I always tell people, I said, this is not a big fruit jam bomb. I mean, you are tasting a Primitivo from Italy. I mean, it's just, again, the winemaking style is completely different. But when you explain that to the guest, when they know what to expect, then they're like, oh, wow, I've just never, tasted anything like this. And for it to be such an older vintage, I mean, it's been great. But
Are you
yeah.
Are you starting out with like whites and then going up to the bigger flavors, or how are you
So
working?
yes, and that's kind of a natural progression of the menu
You
in
can't really do it any
general.
other way.
It's just it's a little bit hard to go, and we've done it in the past. But there was another thing I wanted to mention. So typically, we know Victor is French trained, and that's kind of what his classical dish are. And most of the items on the menu, on the regular menu, are French. But because of his Peruvian background and other things, he's added other styles of food. And this one is a special wine dinner menu because we're going all Peruvian.
Ah,
Which I've never done before.
Which he's never done. Yeah, we've never done. I mean, we always eat Peruvian food, and he's always cooked it for family and friends. And he has a couple of dishes, like I said, on the menu that are Peruvian. But this was at a request of one of our regulars that comes, and she's like, I don't know, we were starting to talk, and she's like, oh my God, whenever you can do just like all Peruvian food, I'll love to come. And then as we were talking about it with other guests, everybody's like, yes, Peruvian food, we just, is not something that you see a lot around here. And that would be so exciting. So we're like, okay, we have to find the right winery for that as well, because, again, very different products, different flavors. So we have to find something that, can pair with it. So that's what this menu is about. And would you want to talk about the food a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So the first course, we'll call them courses, is going to be ceviche.
Okay. Ceviche basically is a very simple dish. The only secret of ceviche is the lemon. That's it. It has to be pressed. It cannot be too pressed. When you press it too much, the skin, the white, is bitter. The
right.
second that touches the juice, it will totally change the texture and the taste of the fish. The
Wow.
fish, before anything, it has to be cured with salt. So
Oh,
basically, you take the fish, put
right.
salt, leave it there for about 15 minutes, and then you put whatever you want. If you don't put salt, what's going to happen is you're going to lose that silkiness of the fish.
Yes.
So
Wow.
you want to seal it with salt, cure it a little bit. No matter what you're going to put, it's not going to go in. It's going to just cover lightly, and you're going to get the sauce underneath, which is what you want because you don't really want to have pickled fish.
Right.
You want to have just the sauce.
Right.
And that doing with some ají amarillo, which is Andean yellow peppers
Mhm.
that have a very different taste. I can't even explain the taste. In Peru, they have hundreds and hundreds of different kind of peppers, and they're all different. So the big difference between a pepper that comes from a hot pepper that comes from the Andes is that they have more taste than they have spice. So they are spicy, but they taste
It's amazing. It's
is really particular.
Right. I
then
would.
for sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying I would love that because it's sometimes that heat's overpowering and then it kills all the
The
flavor.
flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel it
And
up.
it's a combination of little things, a little piece of corn that I
Sweet, yeah.
poach very lightly with anise and pastis.
Mhm.
Sweet potatoes that are caramelized with maple syrup. Little things, that make that bite great.
Extra
Yeah.
special.
Oh,
For our next course, we have, so everybody, I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people are familiar with ceviche, and everybody kind of has their version of it. But there are a few things on here that are probably not as mainstream. So what about the caucita, which is the next?
Yeah, that is basically yellow potatoes from Peru. I had to get frozen. I couldn't get them fresh, but they're very high quality. Uh, and they're potatoes that you poach, and then you add a mixture of peppers and a little bit of olive oil.
Oh,
Mix them together, and then make like little cakes with baja shrimp that are getting here Friday, and avocados, and then make a sauce with farmer cheese that I think is gonna be ready by tomorrow or the day after. Melissa had made the farmer's cheese, and just make a cream with it, and
and is it like a croqueta or is it just
No,
pan-seared?
that's
it's a layer
it's
cake.
a layered, and it's served cold. It is served cold, so it's just like layers of potato, shrimp, avocado, potato, shrimp, avocado, and then that little sauce on top with a little spiciness from the ají amarillo. And it's the same thing. It's just like the texture of it. It's just, yeah, it's really, and that's kind of, I mean, it's actually, I mean, in Peru, like with your family, is something that
Yeah,
you eat often.
Yeah, very often.
And that you can make it with just chicken or with with shrimp, with
you can do it
crab.
with
You can
anything.
do it with with a lot of different things. So that's also a cold course. The next one, which I have to say is my favorite, I could eat that every day, is pulpo al olivo.
Yeah, that is again the botija olive from Peru that I will turn into a sauce with cheese
Mhm.
and olive oil, garlic, and thyme. It's like a very very thin sauce that on which I will lay on top thin tentacles of braised octopus, loco.
That's my favorite. I love octopus. It's so hard to find around here.
Yeah, no, but octopus here is like no other octopus. It's the taste, the flavor is cold weather, but it's not deep water. So they're not huge. They're nice tentacles.
Right.
Oh, they're fantastic.
When it's the same thing, such a strange combination when you really come to think of it. But
It works.
again, served cold, and it's just that, yeah, the pairing of the flavor is just really amazing.
And it
The next one, yeah.
it's great that it's a tasting because if people have never had it before, it's a wonderful opportunity to try it, but not commit to a whole order.
Absolutely. Talking about that, just want to let you know we have about six more. We can always extend a little bit the tables. We're doing one communal table, and we have about six more seats. So if anybody is interested, they can call us at the office here at DL Cove Inn at the front desk and just ask about the winemaker's dinner.
And then can they go, is the menu online for them?
The menu is online for them, so they can, yeah, they can check out the actual menu as well as the wine pairing. All of it, is on there on the website, under the restaurant tab.
That's awesome. And we have just a few minutes. So what's the one course that's going to stand out that we haven't gone over yet?
Ají de gallina, lomo saltado, papa rellena.
I don't know. It's like having kids, and I ask you
I
which one
know.
you
What's
like
your
better.
favorite kid?
Well, there is something. I mean, again, the other ones are also very much typical, Peruvian dishes, but
With a little French flair.
but the one that kind of stands out to me is the ají de gallina ravioli. So ají de gallina, it's a very peasant dish originally. It's just served over rice, and it's kind of a thick. It's not a stew, but kind of, yeah, kind of
It's
sort
like
of with
a leftover
chicken.
thing, chicken and old bread and.
But really not something pretty to look at. It's just, again, really good, but just kind of like, whatever. But the way that he's turning this into like a little, ravioli
I never done that
filled.
before, so.
So it's a ravioli filled with that sauce as a stuffing. I mean, to me was like, oh wow, that looks something like I'm really into that.
It's
Yeah.
usually served with boiled potatoes and rice, but I didn't want to do that because
Right.
then it's too much. It's too much.
Really, right.
So I'm making a little pasta that I'm going to make with I'm gonna try with rice flour and potato, kind of gnocchi,
Yep.
and use that dough to put the filling in and the sauce.
Oh, that's
So
exciting.
it will be a little bit decomposed, but I hope it's gonna be good.
Well,
I'm
there,
sure it will be.
well, there are 6 seats left, so make sure to set your reservation now because that sounds like an amazing experience.
We're
And
really excited about it.
I bet. And how fun to create it. Well, we are out of time. Melissa and Victor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much
It was
I
so
look
for
nice
having
to
us.
meet you, and you'll have to come over sometime.
Definitely.
We'd love to show you the experience.
Definitely. And thank you all for listening to KGA here live on this fabulous Wednesday morning. Just to let you know, this Friday from 9 to 2 is Ocean Life Symposium right here on KGUA with the Whale and Seal Study program. And that's going to be October 18th on Friday. And then the Winemakers Dinner is Saturday the 19th. So it should be a fabulous, fabulous weekend. Again, folks, thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time.